After a heated weekend of arguments between a nurse put into mandatory quarantine after coming back from Sierra Leone and New Jersey officials, the nurse has been released and is traveling to Maine, which was her original destination. Good evening, I'm Chris Fashini. Today, nurse Kaci Hickox was released from quarantine in Newark, New Jersey, and is headed to Fort Kent. She was quarantined upon returning to the U.S. after treating Ebola patients in Sierra Leone with the group Doctors Without Borders. News Center's Katie Bavoso is in Fort Kent for us tonight and is live with more on this story. Katie.
Chris, that's right. Kaci Hickox is currently traveling back to Fort Kent, where she had originally planned to quarantine herself inside of her boyfriend's home for 21 days. Now, when she returns, she will be in-home quarantined by the Maine CDC, according to new regulations. But health officials say she is not a threat to the community, as Hickox has tested negative for Ebola. The Maine CDC issued new regulations this afternoon stating that Hickox will be quarantined in her home and monitored by the CDC for a 21-day period. These new regulations are now requirements of all people returning to Maine from a country with an Ebola outbreak and did come in contact with patients who tested positive for Ebola but are not infected with the virus themselves. According to the Chief Medical Officer of Northern Maine Medical Center, the quarantine is a precaution, and that even if Hickox comes in contact with her boyfriend, who is a student at UMaine at Fort Kent, or anyone else, there is no reason to panic.
So not only is she not at risk for transmitting, he's not at risk for transmitting unless she was diagnosed and then he became sick 2 to 21 days later. So the risk to the students and the general population in Fort Kent is right now, well, it's zero now.
Now, as I mentioned before, Hickox's boyfriend is a nursing student here at UMFK and lives off campus. The university itself did not know Hickox was going to be quarantining herself in his home in Fort Kent until faculty members heard it through the media. The vice president of student affairs says the university is in constant contact with the CDC at the moment and will do everything necessary to let its students know they are in no danger. Chris.
Okay, thanks very much for that report, Katie.